On this week's GTA 5 o'clock, tons more on GTA Online, including cross-platform co-op and how property, vehicles and heists work. What is the future for GTA single player? Plus, details of how to join our GTA 5 o'clock crew. It's the only YouTube show that's seen GTA Online. It's this week's GTA 5 o'clock. Hi, welcome to this week's GTA 5 o'clock. I'm Tim Weaver. I'm here with Dan Dawkins. Hello, Dan.
Hello there.
So, Dan, what have we got for the listeners this week?
Well, we're going to go through your questions for GTA Online. We're going to look at the stuff that we saw in the demo and add a bit of detail. It's going to be a little bit of speculation, as you'd expect. We've also got some details from other previews we're going to thread in. We've got new information from 3D Juegos, the Spanish media outlet who saw GTA Online at the same time as us. There's some new little tidbits of information there that maybe we haven't spoken about. Now, at the end of the episode, we're going to talk about something that's potentially spoilery, which is the ESRB ratings board, who've looked at GTA 5 and I guess seen all of it in order to, decide how old you've got to be to play it. And they've written a description of certain scenes or activities within the game, which aren't exceedingly spoilery, but if you want to go in completely pure, I would skip it. We're going to put that at the very end of the episode, and it will be clearly flagged before it starts, so you can just turn off having had a full episode of GTA 5 o'clock and lost nothing. Now, there's some other things to deal with.
Talking of spoilers.
Yeah, now, we ignited a mini Twitter furore on @GTA V o'clock, where we said, do you want us to talk about the leaked Xbox 360 achievements list for GTA 5 that did the rounds on the weekend? Now, honestly, from what I can tell, given the credibility of the site who are hosting them, and given the fact that they're an incredibly plausible set of achievements, like my honest feeling is that it's like 90% real, if not literally real. So I do put a lot of kudos in it. People have said, do you want us to talk about these? We asked you that, and the answer came back roughly 50-50, where some people had said, well, we really want you to speculate on some of these things, it would be really fascinating. Others have said, no way, this would be terrible, do not attempt to do it. So how we're going to deal with it is not do it in this show. We're going to do a separate show, like a sort of, let's say, 10-15 minute show. We're going to release it pre-weekend, I think on Friday. Follow @GTA V o'clock for details, or keep heading to YouTube. And again, maybe we'll try and get that up for 5 o'clock on Friday. The plan would be for us to talk through the achievements list and what each thing implies about the game itself. It's not as spoilery as it sounds, but there are a few
marginally spoilery.
There's a few things where I think I'd probably rather have not have known about them if I hadn't seen it.
One in particular.
Yeah, one in particular. So we're going to do a separate show. It's there to look at if you want it. If you don't, leave it alone. You're not fundamentally missing out. It's just, for people who want to go that level higher. Personally, I'm itching to talk about it because it gets the speculation juices flowing and you think there's some exciting stuff to spin off the back of it. So yeah, tune back Friday if you want that. Two other things. One is, we need you. Yes, you. We need your skills because we are recruiting a GTA Online army. And we're starting now by setting up a GTA V o'clock crew. You can find that crew by logging into the social club. If you go to Rockstar's website, find the social club, or just type this into Google. Then you can sign up for the social club, which you'll need to do for GTA Online at some stage. Then you can go for search for crews, and if you search for GTA V o'clock, you will find us, and I think you can join us from there. Now, we've only put it out there, as in, we're just setting up the base of it. What we want from you, if you'd be so emboldened, is to make us a beautiful logo. Now, you know what our logo is on Twitter, you know what stuff we're using with the show. In that style is great, but we're open to creative interpretations, and it might be that depending on our mission, we might roll with different logos. So if you think you can create an exciting logo and yours is one of the best, we'll add it to our roster and we'll use it. So, please get in touch. Finally, a lot of people have asked, and we've sort of touched on this before, what are you going to do when the game comes out? Well, good news, the show isn't finishing. What's likely is that the main pillar show, which is at 5 PM BST on a Wednesday, will continue in some format. We'll be doing things such as, reviewing the game, inverted commas, by talking about our experiences of playing it. I don't think we're going to be explicitly scoring it. That wouldn't really seem like in line with what we've done so far, but we will be debating it. We'll be looking at it from different angles. We'll have other stuff to talk about from the world of GTA Online. There's lots and lots to do. We'll also be planning to do a spin-off version of GTA 5 o'clock dedicated to GTA Online and kind of live playing it. And what we do, and also the way that we and the crew we're recruiting work. So you will become famous, inverted commas, and part of our exploits on YouTube. So that's why we want you to join. We want you to watch this new show and help us to make it work. And no doubt we'll be taking on a lot of the other big web, YouTube shows and crews, or maybe working with them. That's what we'd like to do. We want to make it a really exciting, share and care and shoot GTA universe. So more on those plans as we get closer to the time, but rest assured GTA 5 o'clock is here to stay.
Okay, thanks Dan. So let's crack on with some questions. We've got absolutely tons, and it's been really hard. Thank you, by the way, everyone who sent a question in. It's been really hard choosing which ones to pick and which ones not to. Actually, a lot of the questions come under the same kind of umbrella, so we've tried to loop questions in together that are asking the same kind of things, or use someone as a sort of jumping off point for other people's questions. Let's not wibble on anymore. Let's crack on. Rizwan on the twits, Dan, our twit page of course is GTA VO Clock, says, could you still do GTA Online missions on your own, or would you need a team?
I think it depends on the nature of the game you're playing, where like we in our demo we saw predominantly co-op activities versus AI. So we saw, for example, a hold-up which involved only two people.
Yeah.
One drove the car, the other went into the store. Then we saw like my Batsu factory steal mission where you were stealing bikes with a truck. That was 4 people, and same with the Titan steal heist at the end was 4 people. But I think there will be missions that will be quite achievable on your own. Of course, not everybody has like a huge community of friends. I think you might be able to like join a co-op group with people you don't know and sort of like get chummy on the fly, or just pick things off, because there are like almost everything that's in single player GTA is available to you in multiplayer. So I guess you can take part in races.
Yeah.
You could take part, and there's all sorts of races. There's the midnight club style street races. There's going to be mountain bike races. We know there's base jumping activities. All these other great sports stuff. Again, I don't know if you can play like single player 1 versus 1 tennis. And more than anything, you can just hang out in the world and chill out and buy things, explore, meet other people, shoot at other people, be a lone wolf, do all this different stuff.
I think you'll be able to definitely go into the world and definitely be able to do quite a lot of stuff, as Dan has sort of alluded to. But I think perhaps those big missions, the sort of more ambitious missions, probably will require friends. That's not to say there won't be single player missions. We don't know whether there will be or there won't be, but I think there will be definitely things you can do as a lone wolf. But I think the real enjoyment will come from banding together with friends.
Yeah, and like any big multiplayer game, it's like when you play Call of Duty and you split into teams, like 8 versus 8. You might know 3 of the people who are your friends who've agreed to play. You get matchmaked with, let's say, 5 people you didn't know, of similar-ish ability to the other team. So it will be similar in GTA, where you'll be matchmaked with similar ability people. You don't have to know the people you're necessarily cooperating with beforehand.
Okay, next question. Naila Bibi on Twitter says, say I purchased GTA 5 on 360. Once I've bought a PS4 in the next generation, and presumably we're assuming that GTA 5 comes out on PS4, will I be able to bring my online character over to PS4, stats and all?
There's a lot of unknowables in that, because obviously Rockstar have to confirm the game is coming to PS4 and Xbox One.
Let's for a minute assume it is, because we think it will.
Let's assume it is. I would say that hypothetically it's possible, and it's obviously my opinion, not what Rockstar are saying, because if you look just yesterday at Gamescom, EA confirmed that you'll be able to carry on your PlayStation 3 FIFA progress to the PlayStation 4 version.
Yeah.
So technically it should be possible, but it might be that EA have built their game to make it possible. Maybe GTA isn't designed that way. But what is clear is that Rockstar are allowing you to hold your character profile in the social network cloud. So I'm pretty, in my mind, given that I've always expected them to go to next gen, this will be in their thinking as well, because they know that there will come this point where people want to transition from current gen to next gen, and people will be upset if it means losing all their character data. I would say that the cloud would most likely be your sort of safe tucked away storage point of who you are, and then when you reconnect on PS4, it just brings it all in and you're back to where you were.
Yeah.
That's me saying that, not Rockstar.
But that makes the most sense.
But it makes sense. You know, it's in line with everything that's happening in the world, and it's what EA are doing with FIFA.
Okay, David Steenson says, "What do you think? How do you think the online servers will work? Will each player have to join one person's world?"
We did have some information about servers coming up in the 3D Juegos.
Okay, well let's save it for then, or do you want to do it now?
I'll see if I can pick it out now.
Okay.
Basically, it says online will be run on the social club servers, and your data stored in the cloud. It says there's going to be data centers from New York to San Diego and more Rockstar studios. There's going to be lots of data centers around the world. In terms of, he was talking about who hosts.
Yeah.
Was he? Again, I'm not quite sure if Rockstar have committed to dedicated servers, as in, and this is what, again, Microsoft talked about, and they committed to this on Xbox One for Call of Duty Ghosts yesterday, which is quite a big deal. They were saying that Xbox One Call of Duty will use dedicated servers powered by the Xbox Cloud. Again, it's a nice intention. How it works in practice, we don't know. Rockstar have made no such commitment. I think, you know, if we can, we'll try and go back to them and see if we can get some clarity on this.
Okay, Pierre on Twitter says, when Leslie Benzies mentioned new locations, do you think he actually meant Las Venturas and San Fierro? I mean, that's a sort of dream question, I guess, but we talked about the possibility of them making Liberty City, because they would possibly already have this generation of assets, and maybe speculatively Vice City, because he has suggested, for people who didn't listen to Leslie Benzies' interview, he did basically confirm that they wanted to make the world.
Yeah.
So maybe the next, I guess Pierre is asking, do you think the next natural step would be San Fierro and Las Venturas, given that it's part of the sort of Los Santos kind of world?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that basically what Leslie Benzies said, and I'm paraphrasing, so I hope this doesn't come across wrong, is you know, when we asked how will the game expand, he said, well, obviously we you know, sitting on, and we've got access to a lot of old content, and by that I guess he means maps and worlds that are built like Vice City, like Liberty City, like the other locations that, you know, GTA has been. But I find it's a slightly weird tension, because to all accounts, like, Los Santos is the Los Santos of San Andreas, but it is a different geography when you open out into Blaine County, so I don't know if they'll recreate them as they were, or I would have thought probably they have to, like, reimagine them and retool them if they are to bring out Las Venturas and San Fierro. The truth of it was, you know, when you did play San Andreas, it was a huge game, like a 60-hour single-player game. When you got out to San Fierro, you sort of felt like the developers, and this is just me, the developers felt like a little bit like they'd run out of time. There were lots of quite identically textured looking streets, and it wasn't quite as built out as Los Santos. And quite frankly, by the time you got to Las Venturas, it might as well have been that fake street from what's the really good Mel Brooks Western at the end.
Oh, it's Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
It might as well have been the set from Blazing Saddles, because outside of the one casino you could go into, it was just, and this isn't actually far off real Vegas, it was just a street with lots of textured buildings that you couldn't enter. It was like a film set, basically.
Yeah, that is real Vegas, sort of.
Yeah, it almost is, but it just felt like, oh man, they had this great intention, they ran out of time, and they had to just say, look, it's late in the game, Las Venturas is going to be this way, it's not as built out as Los Santos, so they'd undoubtedly have to model that on a much more complex level. I don't know, I can't speak for Rockstar's plans. I think I can firmly see Liberty City, I can see Vice City coming out at some stage. But what was clear again is, as we started to think and say this, Leslie Benzies was quick to redirect our attention to say, well, we're talking about the world. And then that's when you start to go, well, where do you start with the world? What are the rich locations they haven't hit? They've done a lot of the big American cities.
Yeah.
They've never done a big European city. Why wouldn't you start
Well, they did GTA London, I guess.
Of course, but I mean, on 2D.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you start with a proper London?
Yeah.
For me, that's going to be one of the destinations of GTA Online at some stage, proper GTA London. How big will that be?
Yeah, massive.
Huge,
yeah.
huge.
Okay, some more clarification on the cloud and that kind of thing. Hybzer says, will your GTA Online character be saved to your gamer tag or saved to the social club cloud?
Well, it definitely goes to the social club cloud, we know. And again, this links back to the previous question about portability between potential PS3 and PS4 versions. I don't know what degree of data it will embed to your gamer tag. I know probably some, because you want to be accruing trophy data, but it might be separate. The logging of that might be held separate to your actual like social data stats and things that are to do with GTA Online. I could talk about it more, but I'm scared of getting into spoiler country, because we're also, not on this episode but separately, going to talk about achievements which are potentially being leaked. I'll stop talking for now.
Okay. X201, it's more a point than anything else, which I thought was quite interesting. He said, will you actually take your character to the bank to deposit money? And he says, if so, surely the banks will become a camping nightmare.
Well, we did see someone during our demo physically walk to the bank to drop money off at an ATM. The ATM was it, which bank was it for? Maze Bank.
Yeah.
So there is that option. Now, whether we do know that when you're in your apartment, you can do various different things. Like, one is watch TV, you can change clothes, you can take a shower. I'm not even sure what the benefit of that is, whether it's to, I don't know, gain energy or rebuild specials or something like that. It must be some statistical reason for it, because otherwise it's a bit weird. Now, you can also use the internet in your house. Now, that might be just to look for bounties or access the sort of in-game internet within GTA, but I wonder if you could do, again, like you can in real life, do internet banking.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, but, and again, if you think, well, if you can do that, why would you do that as opposed to walking to the thing? But I guess at the start, maybe you haven't got an apartment and you haven't got access to the internet, and so you do need to get money cash in hand.
And of course, you know, you might need cash in hand for like smaller things, like you know, going to convenience stores and buying you know, smaller items. But I think within the world of GTA Online, what you don't want to be doing is carrying around huge amounts of cash.
Yeah, that's what Leslie Benzie said. And really said, like, you need to carry like a day-to-day shopping amount just to get you through the day. But other than that, yeah, you don't want to bother.
Okay, Nirk Vigorink, I think that's how I pronounce it. Sorry, Nirk, if that's not how you say your name. He says, do you know if GTA Online works cross-platform? So if you're playing on PS3, can you play with a friend on Xbox 360?
I don't know this, but again, I would say technically that's highly unlikely.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. I think probably later on down the line, it's something that they might be able to introduce, especially with the cloud technology and all that kind of stuff. But for the, like, in 3 weeks' time, or whenever, you know, maybe it's more than that actually, a month's time when GTA Online, you know, launches, I don't think people would
what I think might be technically possible, and again, I'm no engineer, so this isn't sure, is that if you're storing your data on a social club cloud, and let's say, like, I've got a set of stats for shooting ability, driving, headshots, distance run, all those various different metrics that GTA uses. Now, whether I'm playing it on PS3 or 360, those metrics are the same. And if they're all stored on the same cloud, it will be possible to, I think, compare PS3 gamers with 360 gamers through their cloud stats. But it won't mean that you'll be able to interact within the game world, because they run on separate ecosystems, PS3 or 360. So it might be that whilst you could never directly interact with a 360 gamer on PS3, you might be able to go online and say that I am the definitive best GTA Online player on PS3 and 360. That's me saying it again, not Rockstar, but I'd have thought technically that is much more possible than the likelihood of you actually being in the same game world. That just won't happen.
Okay, The Dead One says, if you've done a online heist and have lots of money, could you go into passive mode to stop anyone from robbing you?
I don't know, again. Rockstar haven't clarified this. I think we've moved to check with them.
It sounds technically possible.
So it's technically possible, but it also feels like a bit of a game-busting cheat. And Rockstar was pretty clear that they were going to be constantly monitoring it for cheaters. I think they were aware of... And the point is, again, a lot of people have written to us and said, oh, well, this will encourage friction or people will cheat. And, you know, the truth is they are. And to an extent, Rockstar want that. They want devilment in the world. They want this sort of social dynamics of defect or altruistic behaviour and all.
Because of course
that's
what marked out the single player is experimentation and, you know, messing around with the world.
Yeah, exactly that, and they'll want to replicate that online. So I think if it's too cheaty, like if you just, you know, let's say for example, right, you perform a heist with your buddies and the lead person gets all the loot. You can't get the loot and then go, And I'm in passive mode and screw you guys,
Yeah.
and I'm walking away with the money. I think probably either you'll be forced to distribute it as soon as you receive it. So the decision has to be made and it's got to be done. And again, I don't think they'll let easy cheats like that through. Again, me speaking, not Rockstar, but even if they did accidentally let a cheat like that through, I'm pretty sure they'd be looking to change it because they want this to work.
So Thomas on Twitter says, since GTA Online is the focus after GTA 5, does that mean GTA single-player games will be no more? What effect do you think it will have? It's a good question. I mean, I think they will still make GTA single-players, but it's a good question.
It's a really good question, and like a really far-reaching vision question, and you've almost got to call into doubt the validity of creating a separate boxed product. And in fact, the very nature of a boxed product, probably as the industry evolves, will change. I mean, we're already in the world of digital downloads.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Pro Evolution Soccer, you may be familiar with, has announced that it's going digital download day one this year. All sorts of games do this now. Increasingly, as broadband speeds get better, this is going to be the way it works. As we move to next-gen systems that have background downloading and can manage all this stuff a lot more efficiently, again, this will be the way it works. Also, the cloud will become more present. We've got currently, Microsoft talking about their sort of nebulous cloud power that will run AI routines in some of their upcoming games, or work to aid the dedicated servers in Call of Duty. This stuff is evolving, and it will get to a stage where Sony have spent an awful lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, acquiring Gakai cloud technology. Now, Gakai cloud technology will enable people at some stage to access, let's say, hundreds of games from the PlayStation back catalogue, and almost like a Spotify service for games. Now, when all this stuff comes to fruition, there's an argument then that GTA Online doesn't live on necessarily PS4, your hardware, but it lives in a cloud that's accessed through the hardware. And when everything's literally running off the cloud off distant data servers, well, that's a persistent on-running service that they could then say, all right, we're going to add a whole suite of single-player missions that you could call GTA 6 or 7 to the GTA Online universe that you buy, almost like, the next big GTA release could be an expensive DLC pack.
Yeah, it's a great shout.
We're talking we're talking years in the future.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 years.
That's what I think, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And my bet would be that the next proper GTA, and given that GTA only happens 3 or 4 years anyway, I would expect the next GTA to be a traditional GTA 6. Because I don't know if the future will still be quite ready by then. But you don't know, do you?
And of course, in 3 and 4 years' time, GTA Online may have expanded to other cities and that kind of thing, and maybe it'll be that GTA 6 is, like you say, a series of missions that kind of slots in jigsaw-like into all the various cities and brings it together in some sort of cohesive storyline.
There's so many exciting possibilities for how they could make that work, and we almost can't fathom in terms of how that's going to evolve, and the way you could join the dots with narrative, like what the sort of emergent multiplayer experience is from people in different locations literally living. It might get to a stage where GTA Online is, if I live in London, I log in and I always start in London because that's where I live. But then it might be you sort of fly virtually to other servers.
Yeah.
If you create a narrative that joins the dots in all these different locations, and almost like as has been trendy recently, like time fractured chronological breakup narrative and parallel events, people have got to do different things at different times. So all sorts of exciting possibilities. I'm sure Rockstar are thinking about this stuff, but the future's a little bit unknowable. So I would say the next GTA, probably traditional, longer term, any one of those possibilities.
Okay, the Super Deacon on YouTube says, I'm confused. To make the crew for all of your friends, do you have to do it through Rockstar's social club, or can you make the crew in-game?
Well, what you definitely can do, because I've just done this for GTA 5 o'clock, which are details to follow. You just go on Rockstar's social club website, just go into Google, type in Rockstar Social Club, you'll find it. It's really easy. Once you've registered with Rockstar Social Club with your email details and a few personal details, you just go create crew, you just type in your crew name, a little tagline, your initials, you need a 4-digit initial, and then you create it, and that's it. It's as simple as that. And you can set your status to like actively recruiting, open recruiting, not recruiting, set the status of your team. Do you want to be about teamwork? Do you want to be anarchists? Do you want to be involved with adventure sports, or just do whatever you want? You set all that stuff. It's really easy peasy, super straightforward. You can create your own logo using a tool on the Rockstar website. So I think that's the easiest access way to do it. And it might be that Rockstar enable that through the game itself, but it's definitely available, effectively on the cloud, as in the internet.
Okay, final question then, Dan, and this has been sent in by so many people, loads of you on YouTube, want to know about how property works. I'm going to use Core M Productions on YouTube as a sort of jumping off point for this question. He says, can you please explain what happens with property online? What happens if me and 200 people have the same apartment? I can't see how this would work. Similarly, if your car gets stolen, what happens if the person who stole it keeps it in their garage, but then you use your insurance to get the car back? Does this mean your car now exists twice in the game? Lots of people asking about that. Lots and lots of people.
Okay,
let's take the property thing first.
Yeah, I'll separate it out. First of all, I've got to add that this isn't clarified by Rockstar yet. Hopefully, we are getting some information through from them. So this is just my feeling.
We've asked them these questions, but we haven't. We weren't able to get responses in time for this week's show.
And again, I don't want to promise that we will get this information because, let's face it, Rockstar have got quite a lot on between now and September the 17th.
And also, there's other things that they might not want to reveal yet or want to keep back or whatever. So we have asked the questions. As soon as we get answers, or if we get answers, we'll let you know. But for the time being, Dan.
Yeah, for the time being, what I think is this is maybe less of a problem than it initially appears. Let's say that 300,000 people own the same beautiful plexiglass apartment we've seen in the trailer, right? Now, that's only really actively a problem for 16 of you who are in the game at the same time. Now, assuming all of you, all 16, have bought that apartment, and assuming all 16 of you want to go in that apartment at exactly the same time. Now, I wonder, will the device Rockstar use be similar to when you set up a co-op group for a heist, that there's like a lead character who's sort of in the driving seat? Like let's say the one player of the 16 is like the heist leader. So if you go to the apartment, it will be your apartment, because they're like the followers to you.
Right, okay.
So that's one way they could solve it. I think another way might be effectively, because of the way the game, I don't think you physically walk up the steps from the street to your apartment. I think there's like a sort of transition scene.
Yeah.
They could mask the transition so that, in a way, all 16 of you have an apartment there. So if you could all individually walk up to your own apartment, but you don't do it in the same physical space. It's almost like, imagine there was a 16-story apartment.
Yeah.
And each of you has got your own identical property there.
And of course, it might also be about buying space in the building. The building might be the thing rather than the actual apartment. So it might be that the building is, you choose the sort of build. You obviously get to have a look at what the apartment is like, but you choose the building, and there's just lots of apartments in there, and then certainly up to 16 apartments in a building, so everyone can get the same apartment with the same view. It's just, like you say, they mask it kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think they might mask it, so you might have like apartment 1, 2, 3, 4, but I think effectively it would be the same apartment.
The apartment, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And again, these are just tricks you could use to get around like a problem potentially such as this. I think they'll have solutions for this.
And the car insurance thing?
Yeah, that's like a
bit of a mind melt, isn't it?
A bit of a mind melt. I don't know, and I don't even know like how that will play out. I'm sort of loath to say anything. I mean, what we do know is that yes, you can get car insurance, so that if someone blows up your car, you can pay an amount to get it back. But if someone steals your car and puts it in their garage,
that is a good question. I'm just trying to think now how that might work, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
maybe we should wait and see if Rockstar let us know.
I don't want to say anything out of turn, so let's see what Rockstar say.
Okay, so that's tons of questions. Sorry we couldn't feature them all. We're going to crack on, Dan. You're going to give us a little bit of an insight into what our colleagues at 3D Juegos in Spain had to say in their GTA Online coverage. Yeah, a couple of interesting things.
When we saw GTA Online, we were like the only UK outlet there, and there was like English speaking. There was GameSpot US there, but they were like different, like literally a handful of publications from around the world, like 5 publications. One of which was 3D Juegos, and they've got some information that necessarily we haven't focused on. So a couple of things I thought was interesting they picked up on is, one is that it talks about how the camera, when you transition from single player to online, to mask that transition as the game match makes, the camera will zoom out and pan away to your online character seamlessly. It says during the animation of the pan out, like we've seen.
You mean like the dum dum?
Yeah,
dum
dum dum dum. It will pull away and then go into your new character. That will mask the matchmaking progress. So you don't go into like a messy lobby as it goes searching, all that stuff.
And in fact, that was one thing that Leslie Benzies talked about in the GameSpot interview, wasn't it? He said he hated it when you had to go into a lobby and wait for other in games and had to wait for people to come. And he said he spent most of your time doing that rather than playing the game. So he said in GTA Online, all you're going to have to do is push the button, and that's obviously what he means.
Yeah, so that clarifies that slightly. Now, again, they talk slightly about matchmaking. It says, now matchmaking depends on which of your friends are playing. It says what people have ranks near yours. So I guess, again, it's just going to try and calibrate to make it as balanced as possible. Talked about missions. Now, every mission requires a rank which depends on its difficulty and complexity. It says the bigger your rank, the more difficult missions you'll pick up. So I don't know if and we did read that the game has got between 500 and 700 missions.
Yeah, there's a slight confusion. I think this came from 3D Juegos as well, actually, that it was reported that they said there were 700, but some other people reported they said 500. Either way,
it's a lot of missions.
That's a lot of missions.
Yeah, it's a lot of missions, and I imagine a lot of them are split up quite minutely, as in it's this type of race or that type of race, 50 types of race or something, it could be stuff like that. And it could be that the way those missions are like spat into the world is if you are of all a certain rank, your game world gets assigned, this is me speaking, 100 different types of mission of a certain rank.
Yeah.
You just don't see other missions because they're too easy or too hard for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that and it does say missions will be ordered randomly as you play online. So again, I think that whilst there's a sense of, and Rockstar did say there's a sense of flow in online, as in when you start, you meet characters like Lamar from within the GTA 5 universe who will introduce you to concepts and unlock new aspects of GTA Online for you. Once you're fully engrossed, I think it will be quite a random piecemeal pickup experience.
Yeah.
3D Juegos also talked about heists, saying that you might require a certain weapon, vehicle or character, such as a sniper or a driver. It says this also depends on the mission creator. So for example, if I've created a mission and I've specified certain strict conditions that you must require a sniper, that's what you need to go in and do that. What else have they got? This was interesting. You can change the weather, the time of day, and you can set it to rain or whatever it's going to be when you create your mission. And it also says you can set the radio station to be playing a certain track at the start of your mission or in the race.
Oh, that's cool.
So given that there's going to be a really rich, diverse soundtrack, you can create really fun themed missions to the point where the soundtrack reflects the madness of what you're doing.
Yeah, that's really good.
So that's really nice.
One other thing GameSpot picked up on in their interview was Leslie Benzies said about creating missions that from start to finish, he reckons it'll take as little as 20 minutes to get a mission off the ground, which is astonishing, really.
Yeah, and we saw a little glimpse of that in the actual official GTA Online video where you saw them dropping waypoints for the dirt bike race, and they look really straightforward, really blah 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 blah, let's go, really really easy. Again, we reserve judgment until we actually play it, but they want to make it intuitive. Only other things to pick up on is we know that you can watch people with wanted levels on your TV, but apparently you can also watch races and death matches on your TV.
Right.
According to 3D Juegos. It's not what we saw, but apparently that's true. The only other thing to pick up on was, we touched on this, when you take part in co-op heists, for example, and you've got an idea of something called team lives. So if your team has got 4 lives, if one guy keeps dying, he's a bad egg and he'll suck all your team lives away.
Right.
So you basically need all of you to be not dying very often.
Yeah.
So if you've got one guy who's like a bullet sponge, it's bad news for you because he'll use up all your team lives.
Okay, so those were the mopping up of the other previews, the other guys who are up there for us. Now we're going to quickly talk about the ESRB rating in the States. what the sort of censors or whatever they're called sort of said about the game. If you don't want anything spoiled for you, now is the time to stop listening. Thank you for listening up to this point. For those who want to stick with us, we're going to start talking about it now.
Yeah, and if you are hopping off, just a reminder for the usuals, please subscribe, please like, and follow us on @GTAV o'clock. Also, pre-weekend, maybe Friday, we're hoping to have out another spoiler-packed episode, so you may or may not want that, but we're going to be talking about the achievements list that has leaked for GTA 5 and what the implications of it are. It's not actually as spoilery as it sounds, but you are warned. So yeah, there we go. If you're leaving us now, thanks for joining in.
Okay, Dan. So they've gone. Let's talk about the blood and sex, and even worse than blood and sex. In GTA.
Maybe we'll start with the tame stuff, so it gets more shocking and spoilery as it goes on. The ESRB had to attach like a written description of GTA 5 to their rating to explain the nature of the shocking stuff within it. Now it says, and I quote, "In this open world action game, players assume the role of 3 criminals whose storylines intersect within the fictional city of Los Santos. Players can switch between each character to follow his storyline, completing missions which often include criminal activities, e.g. stealing cars, executing heists, assassinating targets. So far, so known."
Yeah.
That's all straightforward. Players use pistols, machine guns, sniper rifles and explosives to kill various enemies, e.g. rival gang members. Now again, that's hinting at something, confirming something, as in we've talked about the tension between Grove Street and the Ballers. That might be clarifying it. You say they are rival gang members. It also says then, players have the ability to shoot non-adversary civilians, as you've always had in GTA, you can shoot basically anyone.
Yeah.
Though this may negatively affect players' progress, as a penalty system triggers a broad police search, i.e. you get a wanted level, which is as GTA has always been. Blood splatter effects occur frequently, and the game contains rare depictions of dismemberment.
But then that's also been in the series for a while. You know, you can shoot people's heads off in GTA 3.
Yeah, so whether it's a popping headshot or, you know, you end up somewhere and pick up a samurai sword and you're literally lopping people's heads and arms off, that could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Not that I'm
You
mad.
mean disgusting, obviously.
Sick and ill.
Yeah, sickening.
Of course. Now, this is where it starts to get more exciting. It says, in one sequence, players are directed to use various instruments and means to extract information from a character, i.e. torture.
I.e. Trevor with some
electric prods.
Electric prods, yeah.
So it says the sequence is intense and prolonged, and it involves some player interaction. It says, i.e. responding to on-screen prompts. So it sounds like a QTE torture section, probably like with Trevor pressing the electrodes on a man's chest.
Yeah.
It says the game includes depictions of sexual material and activity, implied fellatio and masturbation. Now we've already seen that in the trailers, really.
Yeah.
So we've had Trevor making cracks about, cracking one off, and getting noshed off. So it says the game includes depictions of various sex acts that the player's character procures from a prostitute. So there we go, mentalists. Prostitutes are back. It says no nudity is depicted in these sequences, but various sexual moaning sounds can be heard. Now whether this is vintage GTA, take a lady of the night out into your car in the woods and you see the car wobble up and down and stuff.
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
And it says nudity is present, however, primarily in 2 settings. It says a topless lap dance in a strip club, which again we know about.
Already, yeah.
Is that the Vanilla
Unicorn?
Yeah, Vanilla Unicorn. It says, this is the most spoilery thing we've said so far, and it's also the funniest. A location that includes male cult members with exposed genitalia in a non-sexual context.
Right.
Now, whether this is the Kiflom Epsilon program,
sounds like it, doesn't it?
Like just going shirt with shirt but trouser free, letting it all hang out. We'll see. Now, again, further spoilers potentially. The achievement list, which looks quite credible, mentions another cult within the game, so it could be there's like a sex cult or something. We don't know, but
didn't they? Am I remembering this wrong? But didn't in one of the early casting calls something about a sex? Was it something to do with a sex cult or something?
There's been talk of swingers.
Oh right, that's right.
In you know the first casting call. So whether it's something to do with that, I don't know. It's speculation. Now, the last stuff is one of the biggest set of revelations. It says within the game, TV programs and radio ads contain instances of mature humour, myriad sex jokes, which is par for the course with GTA, depictions of raw sewage and faeces on a worker's body.
Right.
Now, whether that's like someone out in the fields in grapeseed covered in shit, you know, we don't really know. There's a brief instance of necrophilia.
No nudity is depicted.
Just good old necrophilia.
Just good old clothed necrophilia.
So that's great. And it says, some sequences within a larger game allow players to use narcotics. Now, this is as we've speculated and as you've pointed out. It says, e.g., smoking from a bong, lighting a joint. It says, cocaine use is also depicted. So, whether that's Hollywood celebrities, agents, those kind of characters. It says, players' characters can, at various times, consume alcohol and drive while under the influence, which evokes amusing scenes from GTA 4.
Yeah.
Amusing scenes from GTA 4, not real life, I will add.
Yeah, not real life, obviously. Footnote.
And now, finally, the words, I'm not going to say them, the F-bomb, the C-bomb, and the N-bomb can be heard in the dialogue.
So what do you make of all that, Dan? As expected? As expected,
bar swinging cult nudity and necrophilia.
Necrophilia was a bit of a shocker.
Yeah.
but the rest of it, I suspect necrophilia will obviously be used in a comical way.
Yes, I think it'll be like alluded to in a vaguely comical way.
I don't think it'll be a necrophile, a serial killer.
No.
I think that's not really GTA.
Even for GTA, that's a little bit rum, so I don't see that happening. So that's it.
Okay, so thanks for listening this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Do put your comments below. We always read them. If you've got any questions, we'll try and answer them on next week's show. Please do subscribe if you have already. Thank you. If you haven't, it means you don't miss a show. Sorry about the massive laughing in the background that you can hear. There's someone next door having a massive party. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Do keep up to date with us on Twitter, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.